we played you just a little bit of the heart-rending interview with that American who's trapped in Afghanistan, pleading for help from President Biden, or as he said, whoever is in power. I don't know what his experience is like, that he even doubts that the White House is in control now. I want to hear from him as much as often during this hour, because it's important to know what our people are dealing with. Let's watch.
So no one wants to stay here. We all know what's going to happen next few days or next couple of weeks after Americans leave Afghanistan. So everyone is scared, even include us that we already moved to America. But I have my family from both sides. They are waiting for their HIV to get approved.
General Jack Keane, retired four-star U.S. Army general, Fox News senior strategic analyst, and chair of the Institute for the Study of War. General, thank you for being in studio with me today. I don't want to call this the study of war, but it's warlike. I mean, we fought the Taliban before, and we're going to depend on them to help our people get out. Is that reality-based?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, look, I think the administration made a terrible mistake in pulling our troops out and giving the Taliban the opportunity to take the country over, and now we're going to inherit an epicenter of radical Islam right inside of Afghanistan. It's going to become a more dangerous place, threatening America, and the world's a more dangerous place. All that said, now we have this crisis, and the focus and the leadership should be on this crisis. And I don't hear the president, and even the other day with Jake Sullivan, saying something like this: listen, we are determined to get all of American citizens and our Afghan friends who work with us out of the country. We will stay there with thousands of troops until the last person is out. Now, when you make that statement, that gives you huge leverage with these Taliban guys, because they want us out of there. They want us to go away. They don't want this visibility of the United States presence still in their country.
So this is the migration from hope to strategy that my military dad taught me. You can hope for the best, but you got to strategize to get there. So that's brilliant. Because what Jen Psaki, White House press secretary, gave us was date certain August 31st, but what happens if you can't get everybody out after that? There isn't that promise that we will keep people there who will give safe haven to our Americans, some 11,000 we learned from Psaki, who are outside the perimeter of that airport. And now the State Department leaving it up to them, General, to try to get to the airport. I mean, that sounds crazy to me. Can you even imagine trying to get to the airport if you're in a far out part of the country?
Well, the date certain on the withdrawal from the beginning was a fundamentally flawed concept, because it should have been based on conditions, not on an arbitrary date. And the fact that we would still, at this late time, in the face of this unbelievable humanitarian crisis, be wedded to 31 August. Why? Because the Taliban's whispering in our ear that you guys better be gone by the 31 August? I'd just turn that around in the way that I just said it to them, and make sure that Barada, who's now flown into the Kandahar airport, he's going to be the emir. He knows in uncertain terms, even if we have to send somebody down there and put a finger in his chest, an American, and let him know that this is what we intend to do. We are determined to safeguard our citizens and our Afghan friends who work with us. That's it. And you're going to pay a price for it if you don't cooperate and facilitate this movement.
Well, and the other layering, and I'll move on after this, but I want to get this piece of the puzzle in. You mentioned they want us gone as soon as possible. Well, of course they do, because they're doing this whole charm offensive right now. They want the world to think they're going to treat women better. Oh my gosh, we're thirsty to see that. But you've got all of their promises right now in front of the cameras, and the minute those are gone, it's the Taliban, circa whatever decade you want to pick.
Yeah, I mean, the Taliban is leveraging publicly because they want recognition from countries, and following that recognition, they want trade. I mean, they need to get money, obviously.
So we still have some leverage.
Oh, yeah, we have huge leverage.
Yeah.
After all, we are the United States of America. We should never, ever forget the strength we have in our values. And I'll tell you, the president frustrates me here, because he seems to have something of a callous indifference to what is taking place, not with the American citizens, but with the Afghans themselves. And in 1975, maybe there was a prologue to this, because in 1975, we were concerned about the South Vietnamese. Senator Biden said, the United States has no obligation to evacuate 1 or 100,001 South Vietnamese. So said Senator Biden. We're here again with a very similar problem, and that may be one of the reasons why we don't see this forceful commitment to get all of our people out.
That is really fascinating. Meanwhile, it was just a little over a month ago that President Biden said this could never happen. Watch.
Is a Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not. But the likelihood there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely.
I don't think that we can overdo reminding people of just how short a journey this president and the nation have been on to get us to where we are now, and how the bubble, or whatever it is that he's in on this issue, is so clouded to our reality right now. The New York Times out with this piece today entitled, "Intelligence Warned of Afghan Military Collapse Despite Biden's Assurances." It says, quote, "Even as the president was telling the public that Kabul was unlikely to fall, intelligence assessments painted a grimmer picture." General, that is really disturbing. I mean, it's one thing if he lives in a bubble and he says he doesn't know, but if he got intelligence reports.
Well, he was advised by military commanders who have years of experience dealing with this issue, dealing with the Taliban, dealing with the Afghan security forces, dealing with the Afghan government. Our intelligence agency, it's been publicly disclosed, it had a significant CIA presence on the ground for years. Doing what? Dogging the al-Qaeda from military bases there. They have absolute huge dexterity in terms of what is happening with the al-Qaeda in the country and what the potential is. So he had the advice. He just chose to ignore it and make it. And this comes down to the self-righteous stubbornness that he has. He believes he's a foreign policy expert because he was dealt with the Foreign Policy Committee for years. But many of us who've been associated with him have seen him make one foreign policy judgment mistake after another. And I think there's a serious one here. Look, everyone knows if the Taliban take over in Afghanistan, the al-Qaeda, who already has a presence, 10 to 15 provinces they're in there, shielded. They have to hide. They have to make certain we don't detect where they are. The number two in the Taliban is an al-Qaeda guy. So now they resurrect themselves. They don't have to hide.
And they have money, Pakistan, and potentially China, Russia.
And as a result of the Taliban becoming a premier jihadist organization in the world, why? Because they defeated the United States. Other jihadist groups are going to come to Afghanistan. And likely it could become this epicenter that we all feared of radical jihadism. Wow. And that's the path that we're on. And that is really sad. It's a more dangerous path for the security of the American people and for the world writ large. And China, Russia, and Iran, watch. Watch how they're emboldened. Watch Taiwan. Watch Iran increase its attacks in Iraq against U.S. forces. Watch Russia push Ukraine and get tougher with them, emboldened by this presidential foreign policy failure.
Well, the way you lay it out, it certainly does feel like we are in a worse place than we were in 2001 after 9/11. And it certainly does feel, we know for certain that the Taliban have more land now than they controlled back then. I mean, it just in 10 days gone completely in the wrong direction, undoing 20 years in that aspect. Many policymakers and experts are questioning whether the Taliban will ever formally sever its longstanding ties with al-Qaeda. You just heard the general saying their number two is al-Qaeda in the Taliban. Experts also fear that Afghanistan will become, quote unquote, the second school of jihadism, along with Syria, where al-Qaeda affiliates send their fighters to. The former CIA director under President Obama, Leon Panetta, has a sobering assessment.
With the Taliban now controlling Afghanistan, there is no question that they will provide a safe haven for al-Qaeda and for ISIS and for other terrorists to be able to reorganize, strengthen themselves again, and potentially use Afghanistan as a base for attacking not just the United States, but other countries as well.
Your reaction?
I totally agree with Secretary Panetta. And during his regime, they killed Osama bin Laden, so he's very much involved in what is happening here. He knows the history and the past of it. Listen, Director Burns, this is President Biden's CIA director. He said if the Taliban take over in Afghanistan, that is significant security risk to the American people. That is the director of the CIA today. So this is self-evident what is going to happen here. The threat against the United States and the American people is increasing as a result of the Taliban takeover. It is indisputable. I don't know of anybody who spent any time paying attention to what is happening in that part of the world who doesn't come to the same conclusion.
We basically, from what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth. We went from victory and an exit where we could say some things happened on our watch for 20 years that were successes to what looks like surrender.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And listen, we're doing much the same in other parts of the world. In fact, President Biden mentioned it in his message to the American people. And it's amazing he doesn't apply it to Afghanistan. He says there are other places in the world where radical Islamists are threatening the United States, and we're involved in that. East Africa, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria.
Wow.
Modest forces involved. Al-Qaeda has aspirations to attack America, and they are already in Afghanistan. That is why we wanted to keep this small force there, like the small forces are dealing with these others. And now we sacrifice that small force, and look at the problem we have on our hands. The scale has just jumped up exponentially.
General Keane, thank you for being here.